Okay. Sorry, everyone. Again, thank you for your patience. We didn't expect to have some technical difficulties, but I guess that's what we have as we move forward. I'm Christi Smith, one of the counselors here in the Counseling and Guidance Office. We have the rest of our counselors with us tonight. We've got Katie Jablanowski.
Hello.
Nina Muto is here with us. Rob Malvasio.
Good evening.
And we have Becky Martino, who's here. Miss Meryl Wallach is in another Zoom up at BOCES at the moment. So we've got all of our bases covered for tonight. And then we also have, for the first time ever, we have 7 college representatives visiting with us. So in a minute, I'm going to give them a chance to introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their colleges. We do have the chat set up, and all of our counselors will be monitoring the chat. I ask if everybody could just mute themselves at this point in time, so that we can hear everybody okay and there's no glitches for that. I have placed 2 documents in our Google, or excuse me, in the chat to begin with. One is a download for our college bound planner. All of the juniors will have gotten this in their English classes. If they are a remote learner, they can pick it up at material pickup. It is also online, and it is in our Google Classroom for the class of 2022. So lots of information out there that they can get. I also did put in the chat feature a link to the new Common App questions, essay prompts for next year. There is one minor change. So you can reference that at any point in time. Again, that is in our Google Classroom as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Joe Teasy to begin with. Joe is our friendly admissions counselor down the road at Binghamton University. I must call him about 1,000 times a school year to ask different questions.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to turn it over to Joe to start with. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Christy. Listen, this is what happens in this day of Zoom is in the technology. It doesn't always go perfect. So I'm glad you're all here. And thank you, Vestal, for inviting us. We've been at this together for a long time, and we always appreciate your hospitality. It's such a joy to be in front of students and parents, be able to tell them who we are as a campus. And of course, you know, Binghamton, we're just down the street. We're part of the state university system. We're a SUNY. Binghamton is a university center. So you can get your bachelor's degree. You can get your graduates, go to graduate school, get your master's degree. Go on to get your doctorate degree. 132 majors, minors, concentrations, and you could possibly imagine at Binghamton, right? Liberal arts, political science, the theaters, the fine arts, the sciences, biology, chemistry. We have an engineering school at Binghamton, a nursing school, a school that's called the College of Community and Public Affairs. You can get your social work or human development degrees in that school. Pharmacy, you can become a pharmacist coming out of Binghamton, get your doctoral in pharmacy. We have a school of management, finance, and accounting, all done right here on our campus. Of course, you look at who we are in the bigger picture, who we are educationally. Academic excellence is what we thrive upon. Binghamton is ranked as our top R1, top tier research institution. So the philosophy very much is about experiential learning, on-hand experiences. It's important to us to be able to sort of stick with that philosophy. Binghamton is a diverse campus. 16% of our students there are from a country outside our own, 16% international. Academic excellence. My favorite number, really, beyond all that, and I can quote stats, and I'm an admissions guy, I like the numbers, but my favorite truly is our retention rate. You know, retention. Binghamton has a 92% retention rate. It means our students stay, that they're happy, they feel safe, and they feel that sense of community, that sense of belonging. You know, where do I go if I need homework help? How do I make friends? So that student life and community is very strong. So that national rankings is really one of the very top values in the country. Return on investment, being part of this state university system very much means about affordability and accessibility. So we're all right here, and we're thrilled that you're with us tonight, folks, and we're hoping to answer some questions along the way.
Thank you, Joe. We appreciate that. Next, I'd like to turn it over to Brittney. Brittney is a former Vestal student, so we are thrilled to have her back joining us as well. Brittney?
Hi, everyone. So happy to be here. I always love my Vestal presentations the most, just because, I mean, I remember when kind of remember my own junior night. I know I went. Doesn't really, it's been a while, but so I now work at SUNY Broome. I'm sure all of you know SUNY Broome, probably have aunt, uncle, parent, neighbor, cousin, someone you know who has attended SUNY Broome. We are a 2-year school. You can earn your associate's degree with us. You can do your full 2 years with us, but a lot of students may do a semester, a year, and then transfer on. The nice thing about SUNY Broome is you can start with us and really go anywhere. Any of the schools that are here tonight, you can start with us at SUNY Broome if you need to. Maybe you need some prerequisites. You want to get started on general education requirements, or maybe you're looking to get your associates and then go right into the workforce. We have over 60 different programs to choose from. They're all in 4 divisions. So we have programs in business and professional studies, the liberal arts, the STEM division, and then health sciences. SUNY Broome, you may already know this, but we are an open enrollment campus. So unless you're applying for one of our few competitive health science programs, we are open enrollment, which means all you will need to be accepted into the program is your high school transcript and your application, and you're in. So that's really a nice option. Joe hit on a lot of the benefits of being part of the SUNY system. SUNY Broome is also part of that system. Really, the affordability, all of you are very fortunate where you have so many great academic options really quite close to home. You don't have to go far to really get a great experience. Look at the other schools here as well. We're really fortunate in this area to have that opportunity. A lot of our students go on to Binghamton University. We have a great working relationship with them. A lot of our programs are designed to do so. But that being said, we also have countless articulation agreements or transfer agreements with 4-year institutions. So if you want to be sure that the courses you're taking at SUNY Broome are just going to seamlessly transfer in, those are some options too. COVID has definitely shook things up a little bit for us, but we're hoping by the fall to have about 50% of our classes back on campus. So that'll be exciting. It's very sad to be there without students. We miss you for sure. So yeah, that's a little bit about SUNY Broome. Like I said, I know a lot of people are familiar with SUNY Broome, and something I always like to say to our local students, because I know I thought this too. I always thought SUNY Broome was a place you go to class, you go home, that's it. But really there's so much more to do student life-wise, clubs and organizations. You can get involved in so many different ways. I know I wish someone had told junior year Brittney, to consider that as an option because there's so much more to do. And it's a great way to get a really strong foot in the academic, getting started with your academic career after high school, but also a great way to save some money up front as well. And so happy to be back at Vestal.
Thank you, Brittney. We're always excited to see you. Next up, we have Tess from RIT, and we are thrilled that RIT could participate with us tonight. We've always wanted to have them here. It is a little bit of a longer drive to come. Sometimes we've had this, major snowstorms the day before, or usually snowing the day of. So the fact that we can do this remotely is exciting. For the pure fact that we are able to have so many different colleges. So I'd like to turn it over to Tess from RIT.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here too. And that reminds me, I wanted to say this before I forget, that we are actually open for visitors, and it's by appointment. You can come for a campus tour, but we also have virtual tours, virtual interviews, virtual information sessions. So a lot of different ways to connect with us, but we are just about 3 hours, maybe a little less than that of a drive. So I hope you will be able to come and visit our campus. And we've been very fortunate that we are open for in-person classes this year. We're doing a hybrid model, which many of you are probably familiar with the idea, where you attend half of the time. A lot of our courses are labs and studio art and that kind of thing. So those students are very glad to be able to come to campus. for their courses. So we have obviously a reputation of being an institute of technology with strong programs in STEM, but we also have some really great programs in art and design, business, liberal arts, photography. We have some programs you don't see often, like imaging science and packaging science. So altogether, there are 90 different majors in our 9 colleges, and we really emphasize experiential learning, which has been said already. So that's learning by doing. And one of the ways that we accomplish that is through co-op. So most of our students are going to complete at least one co-op, if not a full year, which is a paid work experience in your major. And that really helps with getting a job after college. So that's a main goal of ours, is that you'll be able to find a job in your field when you graduate. Another thing I wanted to point out is that we have what we call differential admissions, which means when you apply, you can be accepted right into your major. We also have some exploratory programs for students who want to take a year to check out different majors before they declare one. And we have early decision, regular decision, and then we're rolling after that. So right now we're in our rolling admissions timeframe for any seniors that are still thinking about applying. It's not too late to apply. We still have room in many of our programs. And we are test optional, which means you can submit SAT or ACT scores if you wish, but if not, it's not necessary. I will put my contact information in the chat. If anybody has more questions for me, please email me later on too.
Thank you very much, Tess. Again, we're thrilled to have you here. And in reference to the SATs.
But I mean, I don't see a way to change.
Oh, Rick, you're unmuted and sorry about that. In reference to the SATs and ACTs, Vestal has been able to host still without any cancellation our testing. So we did just go into classrooms virtually last week to talk to students about registering for SATs and ACTs. And I hope through our discussion today, some of the colleges will talk about going test optional and what that means. So next, I'd like to turn it over to Rachel Martin. She's with us from SUNY Delhi this year. And throughout the last few years, we've been sending more and more students to SUNY Delhi. It's a different alternative to some of the other schools that we have usually had students looking at. And I think our students are doing very well at Delhi. I know Delhi hosted counselors a couple of years ago, and half the tour guides seemed to be from Vestal when we went to visit. So we were thrilled about that. So I'm going to turn it over to Rachel to find out more about SUNY Delhi.
Thank you all for having me tonight. I'm excited to join you all. Yeah, so SUNY Delhi is a little different. We are part of the SUNY system. However, we are a school of technology, so that means we are very hands-on. We have non-traditional majors like construction management, integrated energy systems, a 4-year criminal justice program now. We just approved that. We're excited for that new degree. We have culinary arts, event management, nursing, veterinary science. We have the first veterinary science program in the United States, and that comes with several different animals, from rats to monkeys to large animals on our campus. We have over 60 majors now, so lots of different options if you're really looking for a non-traditional education. I really encourage you to look at trades. We have heating and air conditioning, electrical, welding, refrigeration, and there's a lot of job opportunities out there. There's also a lot of great money opportunities. So something to consider. You kind of still get the college experience while learning a trade, something that you might be learning currently in BOCES. We take that and kind of explode that topic and really dive deep into techniques so that you can really go into a field and be proficient. We have over 60 clubs and organizations. As some of my counselors friends have mentioned, COVID has kind of messed up some of that. However, we are trying to do the best job we can. We are currently on campus in class. We are kind of doing a similar hybrid, like RIT mentioned, that our students are somewhat online, but they come back to campus. We're doing a wonderful job with our COVID protection and following CDC and the local health guide department guidelines so that our students stay safe and still get the experience and the knowledge of our hands-on education. We are about an hour and a half from Binghamton, so it's a nice little distance away, but you can go home on the weekends and take friends back. So that's kind of a nice little advantage for SUNY Delhi. We're also about 30 minutes from Oneonta, which holds SUNY Oneonta and Hartwick College. So there's a lot to do in our area as well. And if you're into nature, we also have the beautiful Delaware River. But SAT, ACT right now, it's basically we're following SUNY regulations. We are test optional right now for any of our applicants. And as soon as we hear, we'll be able to notify our applicants for next year's. I just want to say we are rolling admissions for most of our programs. However, our vet sci and our nursing program do have regular decision and early decision deadlines. We are just past our regular decision deadline and are still accepting applications for wait lists. So thank you all, and I can't wait to answer some of your questions.
Thank you, Rachel. Next, we have Alex from Cortland.
Hi, everyone. So I'm here from SUNY Cortland, so another SUNY school. I'm not quite as close to you as SUNY Broome or Binghamton, but we're not too far away. I think probably like 45 minutes. So we have 68 different majors. We're definitely known for our education, childhood, early childhood, physical education, very popular majors we have here. Also sport management, exercise science, speech and hearing science. So we have a lot of different things to offer. We just added 4 new majors, including Bachelor of Fine Arts in musical theater, graphic design, fitness development. So we have a lot of different things to offer. We are also very big into athletics. We have really strong athletics from all levels. Our Division III teams, our football, baseball, lacrosse are really popular and competitive, down to our club and intramural levels as well. Like Rachel and Tess said, we are test optional as well. And we are still continuing our rolling admissions as well. But I'm also going to put my information in the chat box. So if you have any other questions or think of any down the line, you can always send me an email or call our office. I'm there from 8 to 4:30 every day. So you can always reach out.
Thank you, Alex. It's great to have you here. Usually our reps from Cortland and Syracuse always comment on the horrible weather that they have driving from back and forth, and they follow each other. And it's usually, Syracuse is usually in some basketball playoffs going on, and we break them away from campus to be with us. So again, things are a little different, but I'm going to turn it over to Tammy from Syracuse this year.
Make sure I unmute myself. Well, thank you for inviting us. I'm happy to be here to talk about SU a little bit, kind of quick and fast. So I'm one of the admissions counselors on undergraduate admissions. I'm also the Native American liaison. So if you have any Indigenous students, absolutely send them my way. We have a lot of Indigenous programming and services available to help support Indigenous students. We are a medium-sized private university. We have 9 different undergraduate colleges, 2 graduate colleges, online courses, part-time courses. We have over 200 different majors, 100 different minors. So there's just a lot for students to choose from, whether you know exactly what it is that you want to do right this second, which, yay if you do. But if you're completely undecided, that's perfectly fine as well. Probably about 30% of our students will apply undecided. And then like another 20% will become undecided once they get to SU, because we have so much to offer. The programming is incredibly flexible. We try to put as much control in your hands as soon as you get on campus as we can. So you decide the classes you're taking, when you plug your required courses in, and what your schedule will be like. We have a fabulous study abroad program. It's one of the top, it's in the top 10 study abroad programs in the country. We're an R1 research university, so we really have a lot of opportunities for our students to engage research opportunities, to do internships, and you have those opportunities as soon as you come in as a freshman. You don't have to wait until the end of your program or kind of get some experience first and then start getting that real world experience. We really want our students to be studying the thing that they're passionate about, the thing that they think they might be interested in. We want them to get that real world experience kind of as soon as possible so that you really know, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And you have time to change your mind if you discover you don't want to, you're not liking that internship, you're not liking that research, you have time to change your mind. So a lot of opportunities there. And again, that's another incredibly flexible program that we have as well. So it's very easy to double major, triple major, tack on a couple of minors, and take your electives kind of across colleges and programs. That's really, it's very flexible in that way academically. As far as the internships and research opportunities, we have a multitude that are already set up, but if you had an idea to do something that we don't already have set up, then you would just talk to your advisors, talk to the organizations that you want to work with, and they're going to work together with you to kind of help you get that set up. And then you've created your own internship, your own research project, which is really, really pretty cool. We are D1 for sports. So sports is pretty huge at SU. And we also have club sports and mural sports. So whether sports is your thing or not, there's a multitude of ways to be involved on campus. We have over 300 different student clubs and organizations. Another area of flexibility for us, because if out of those 300, nothing captures your eye, you can create your own club with 8 friends and a faculty advisor. We have Greek Life. Our largest fraternity and our largest sorority are both community-based, which is really nice to be able to say. And it's one of those things where if it's really important for you to participate in, it's there for you. But if that is not your thing, again, there's a whole host of ways to be involved on campus. And it's not kind of one of those make or break kind of experiences at SU. Freshmen and sophomores, they have to stay on campus their first couple of years. Once you become a junior and a senior, you can choose main campus or South Campus, or you can choose to live off campus. And we have a whole office that will help you kind of locate housing off campus if that's what you choose to do. So again, there's a lot of flexibility in the programming that we have, and a lot of different opportunities, a lot of different ways that you can kind of create and craft your own program. Because it is as flexible as it is, in a lot of ways, even with the multitude of programs that we already offer, you really are able to kind of build your own program. I did my undergraduate and my graduate work at SU, and that's exactly what I did. I wanted to do Indigenous studies. SU doesn't have that. We have a Native Studies minor, but not a whole entire major. But I really love to read and write, so I got into the English and Textual Studies program, and then I just focused all of my research and writing and conferences and all of that on some kind of historical or contemporary Indigenous issue, and had the full support of my professors to do that at the undergrad and at the grad level. So that's the kind of control that you'll have over your studies while you're at SU. I'm also going to plug my information here into the chat box. So if you have any other questions, absolutely get a hold of me. I'm happy to help you along the way, even if it's questions about other colleges, other programs. What do I do? I'm just here to help. I just want kids to be in college. Whatever program is going to work for you, that's what I want to help you to get to. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Appreciate you being here. And last but certainly not least, we have Aaron from Colgate. So Aaron, you might be the winner. You might be tied with RIT for the furthest away, but I'm going to turn it over to Aaron.
Yeah, actually, we're not too far away. We're about probably an hour and a half, 2 hours from Vestal. What I think is great, though, is students who are coming from Vestal, the local area, because of the Colgate experience, you feel like you go away to school, but yet you're pretty close to home. And I think one of the reasons that you feel like you go away is because the world is really at Colgate. It's a very global place. And what I mean by that is you're going to get that global perspective from what you're studying. You might have the opportunity, we hope you'll have the opportunity to study off campus. That is part of one of the academic signatures that we have, is that off-campus study component. But also I think that you get that global perspective just from from the people from our community. We have 77 different countries represented among the student body. And so I think part of your education, it will happen in the classroom, it will happen through research or internships, but it's just going to be happening by immersing yourself in the community. We're residential. We have about 3,000 students. So really, this is your home for 4 years. And that sense of home, I think, carries over into your experience as an alum. The alumni community, they're very loyal. They have a lot of spirit, and they're part of your community for 4 years as well. They serve as really great mentors to our current Colgate students. We're liberal arts. So what that means is when you're accepted to Colgate, you have access to any of the 56 different majors that we offer, and you have until the end of sophomore year to formally declare your major. About 60%, and I actually think the percentage is higher, 60% of our students have 2 majors, a major and a minor, or a major and a double minor. And so really there's flexibility. And even if you come to Colgate and you know what you want to study and you declare that major early on, we're gonna ask that you stretch a little bit, and you're going to graduate with a real well-rounded education. And I bet that you will also find different interests and talents that you didn't even realize that you had before. The curriculum is really designed for that exploration, so that you can, so that those sort of interests and talents sort of emerge and you can pursue those. We have Division I athletics at Colgate. There's a real Division I caliber of spirit and opportunity across the board. So yes, it's reflected in athletics, but it's reflected in arts, it's reflected in research and other opportunities as well. At the same time, we're able to retain a pretty small class size. Average class size is about 17 students, student-faculty ratio is 9:1. So you get to know faculty really well. You get to know your classmates really well too. Tess from RIT was mentioning that they are currently welcoming visitors. We are as well. The visit experience is definitely different than it was last year. And you're part of our community for a day. So we'll ask you to really adhere to those different protocols and guidelines that students have been working really hard to follow as well. But we are asking, we are open for visitors, and we ask that you pre-register, and there's more information on our website about that. We have been in person since the start of this academic year. Students are really working really hard to be Colgate together and to be on campus together. And our intention is to continue that next year as well. In terms of just other updates or bits of information to share, we were talking a little bit about testing. Colgate is test optional for the next 2 admission cycles beyond this one as well. So there are a few schools who, there are certainly many schools who offered test optional for this year. And there are some schools as well that have formally announced that they'll be test optional for next year, the next several years, and Colgate is one of those. So I hope that provides a good introduction. Again, really happy to be here. Thanks for extending an invitation to us.
Thank you. What I love about all the schools that are represented here tonight is that we have, from large public schools to large private school to small schools. We've got Division I to junior college athletics. So we really have a wide range of representation for hopefully what encompasses, all of our students who are looking at the college experience. And, that is going to look extremely different for each and every student. So I'm hoping that not only, as our college reps talk about their specific schools, they can talk about their type of school that they also represent. So as we move forward, again, feel free for families to put things in the chat as we have questions, but along the lines of testing and things like that, Vestal is, one of our between Vestal and Binghamton, one of our local schools that has the full IB diploma program. And we often get questions as counselors, is it better to take a Regents level course and score really well in there, maybe get 100 in chemistry, or is it better to take IB chemistry and maybe get a lower score? And I'm wondering if the counselors who are on tonight can talk about how IB is looked upon or AP is looked upon versus a regular Regents, and talking about, Colgate mentioned stretching themselves a little bit. So maybe I'll turn it back over to Erin to see how they would use IB and AP versus regular Regents.
Absolutely. So I think one of the things that Colgate looks at carefully is really the rigor of the curriculum a student has pursued. And so we always encourage students, there are certain parts of this process that sometimes can feel like they're a little out of your control, but we really encourage students to really be thoughtful about course selection. So when we look at a student's transcript, we're not just looking at the grades that they've earned. We do look at that, and we look at all 4 years, and we look at different trends too that we might see. But one thing that we look at really carefully is have they taken AP, IB, or honors classes? Have they taken Regents classes as we're doing our review? So I think it's really good to be thoughtful about sort of, again, the challenge of your course load. Get feedback from your counselor, certainly, as you're putting together your courses for any year of high school. But because this is juniors, next year is really important. I think sometimes that students say, like there was this myth for a while that junior year is the most important, and it is important. And we look really carefully at senior year as well. And I think it's good to be thoughtful about that because it is your last year before wherever you go to school. So in terms of really taking advantages of the academic opportunities, so you can have some really great momentum as a student going into your first year of college, that's just some advice that I would offer.
Joe, how about for you at Binghamton University? How would they look at the transcript with IB and AP with lower grades?
Yeah, I appreciate you inviting such a diversity, a variety of types of campuses. You're right, small and big and public and private. I mean, because every student has to make that big decision. We want you to get good information to make a good decision. And really, it's all about right fit. If you think about it, we want to make that good decision together. As admissions counselors, we want to know you to know who we are and help make that decision to get good information. So the same goes for the transcript. We want to look at that transcript in depth, and that brings into what kind of courses have you taken, and then does it reflect on what your future interests are? So for example, if you want to say, goodness, I want to be a nurse or a doctor. Of course, as admissions counselors, we're going to look strongly at how'd you do in biology and the sciences and math. These all matter. Want to be an English major? I want to do, well, how'd you do in English? So we're going to look at that transcript, and that transcript is going to tell us a story. It's going to tell us who you are. It's going to, if that transcript reflects on where you want to go, then you've made the right choice, right? It is the right fit, and then we also look, just to go into the application a little bit, we look at, the essay that you wrote, does it reflect on where you want to go and who you want to become? So all these pieces go into the decision-making. IB, AP, boy, we love that. You talk about a direct correlation to would you make that transition well into an academically strong college like all of us are here. If you do well with, let's say, AP history, I don't know, or IB, you name it, and that's the major you want to declare, well, that's a pretty good reflection on where you want to become. Now, we know the world has changed. Testing is not what it was. And boy, I tell you, if you could sit where we are, it's been tough this year to try to make that good decision as well. Are we making a good decision on who the right fit would be? And we have somewhat, that story is not complete, because all the testing isn't all available. And of course, SATs, ACT, Regences, some students just weren't able to take those tests, so we have to go deeper and get more information. So, as Aaron said, our hope is you've taken that challenging course, but it is an appropriate challenge. And again, it's a reflection on where you want to become and who you want to be. So we love APs, we love IBs, and hopefully that'll let us make a good decision together. So that's about it.
Thanks, Joe. Do any of the other counselors want to jump in about how they look at AP and IB on their transcripts, on our transcripts?
I just quickly wanted to say that taking AP classes or college level classes in high school can always only really help you. In college, they're transferring credits over, coming into your freshman year, already having college credits will definitely benefit you in the long run, even if they only transfer over as elective credits or whatever they may transfer over as, it's still college credit. So I always recommend any opportunity that you can take a college level course or an AP course, then definitely try and do so.
Thank you. Tammy, do you want to chime in for Syracuse or Brittany?
Sure. So like all of my colleagues have already said, we really do like to see students that will challenge themselves. And the thing to keep in mind is that most colleges that do a very holistic kind of application review, they're not looking just at your transcript or just at your grades. They're looking at you in context of your particular high school. So we're going to look at the strength of the school's curriculum. We're going to look at how many APs, honors, IB program, how many of those are actually offered to the school that are available to you, and that's the context that you'll get judged by. That being said, if you have a little bit of a lower grade, but you've taken an IB course or you're in the whole entire IB program, we're going to see that you have challenged yourself, and it's really important to stay in contact with your guidance counselors and talk to them about the kinds of programs you think you might be interested in, so that you're taking the courses that, again, are going to show that pattern like Joe was talking about, of your interest and of your kind of commitment to that interest and how well you're doing there. So if you can take those APs, again, like Alex said, it's going to free up some time in your schedule. And it's just try to make sure that you're aligning the kinds of courses that you're taking with the kinds of programs that you're either definitely interested in or think you might be.
Thank you. I have a question. Actually, we were talking about this in the chat too. Even if your school is test optional, are you still recommending that the students take the SATs? And especially, the SAT is now dropping the essay after June and the subject tests. Are you still thinking that students should go forward with that, or are you truly test optional and they don't need to submit it?
I just want to piggyback on that real quick too. Sorry to butt in, but are there any scholarships that are still attached to SATs? Because we saw that a little bit this year, and that was a little tricky if SATs are optional or not. Thank you.
I can jump in there real quick. We are completely test optional. What I always tell students, especially with the environment that we're all really kind of trying to function in, if you're having a really difficult time getting to the test, being able to schedule a test, if it's constantly being changed on you, that is out of your control. So your lack of taking the tests or choosing not to submit your scores is not going to be held against you. It's not tied to your financial aid in any way. I tell students, if you have had the opportunity and you've taken the test and you are real confident with your scores, submit them, and we'll use that for review. If you're a little nervous about them, then don't submit them. Don't add that stress to what is already a stressful situation if you don't have to. Also keep in mind that, some colleges or some particular programs may not require them. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind as well when you're trying to figure out, should I take them or not? But every college is going to be a little bit different, but we're absolutely test optional. So if students have not taken them, that it is not a negative in any way at all.
Tammy, that was really well said, and I would echo that in terms of how we've been approaching it at Colgate and really embracing that holistic review, transcript, teacher recommendations, essay, right? We're talking about those things that you can control. And Tammy, I like how you said, like, if there's something that's outside of your control, you wouldn't be penalized for that. And I think there's a lot of things admissions has done to really account for that. Part of our work as sort of admission officers working with different regions is to know what's really happening and know that context and know that high school. So that really helps us to get the full picture. But again, I think that testing, it's really up to you in terms of if that's something you want to consider. Do some research on the schools that you're looking at just to figure out what the different policies are, what the requirements are. But thinking about those things that you can control, like being thoughtful about your schedule. Think about the teacher recommendations that you want to start to gather. Think about topics for your essay, right? So Tammy, well said. I would echo that.
Yeah, can I just jump in real quick? You're right. I have nothing more to add to that. That's perfect right now. But I just think in terms of what would you say to a junior right now? And Again, the world has changed. We want to make sure you get good information. The reality is this is a really good time to start a relationship, to start to know who your teacher is going to be that might write you that letter of recommendation. Each college is going to have different requirements now. Binghamton just requires one letter of recommendation. But that's always one of those things you want to think about. If you're going to go into the math fields, maybe you'd want to strike up a conversation with your math, get to know that teacher so they can really, we've read so many. I've written quite a few, and you put your heart and soul to those letters of recommendation. The essay, holistically, as Tammy said, we look at everything. We have to look at everything now. And the essay that you write, the prompts that come on the Common App, you want to answer those questions and do a real good job. Spelling matters. Grammatically, it's got to make sense, and really tell us your story. We want to know who you are. You don't have to tell us you're a good student. We'll see that in the reflection in the transcript. But tell us your interest. Again, this is a different time where you're not necessarily going to have that whole list of all these volunteer things that you've been able to do because it's not there. But you may have said, I've taken on a project and I've developed this, and here's who I want to become. So, we are truly interested in you. If we're going to make this mutual important decision together, we really read into those essays and those letters of recommendation, and beyond the numbers, we'll see the numbers as best we can. But good information about who you are really impacts on whether we're all making that decision together.
Thanks, Joe, for touching on the essay. A few years ago, Joe and I were in communication about essays that we were sending from Vestal, and everyone was writing about the same sort of topic. So Joe gave us that feedback to Vestal, and we were able to take that back to the English teachers. And hopefully over the last few years, Joe has seen a change in some of those essays that have come through. So we really appreciate the feedback from the admissions reps to our school to help our students improve in that process. With the change in the Common App over the last few years, counselors don't always get to see the essay or everything that the students are submitting. So what would make a great essay? What do you want to read about? I'm sure Syracuse, Binghamton, RIT, you are reading thousands and thousands of essays. So what sort of things stand out in your mind as to what makes a good essay for somebody? Maybe I'll give that to Tess, or yeah.
Sure. I really like to read the essay to get to know the student a little bit, because obviously the transcripts can all look pretty similar, especially when the students are terrific students, but the essay is your voice at the table. So I like it when the essay gives me a window into who you are as a person. You can tell me a funny story, something that happened to you, somebody who was important to you. You can really make it really anything that you want. One of my favorites was a story about a girl who talked about cooking and baking with her grandmother. And then at the end, she actually gave me the recipes, some of the recipes. So I remember this was last year when we were all still in the office, and I read that and I, raised my hand. I got a recipe to try. So, anything unique like that. I love it when students are creative. It just makes it really enjoyable. And I just wanted to point out one thing about the SATs. So although we are test optional, the only exception to that is for students applying to an accelerated program with SUNY Upstate Medical. Those students still have to submit an SAT or ACT score.
I'll jump in about the essays. Yeah, Common App, they give you writing prompts, but again, really, you can write it on anything that you want. And I'm positive English teachers and guidance counselors have said this multiple times already to you, but when you write about something that you are passionate about, something that you are invested in, something that is meaningful to you, that is when your voice, your writing is strongest. And that's what is going to pop out when we're reading it. So if you write about, again, something that is very meaningful to you, that tells us the kind of values you have, the kind of person you are, the kinds of things that you'll be involved with when you're on our campus and become part of our community. And whether we're really going to be a good fit for each other, whether, you know, how you're going to be able to help our community and how we're going to be able to help you. So if you really kind of focus on writing that in that fashion, that's what is going to make your essay really kind of pop out.
Thank you,
Good.
Tammy.
Quick follow up to that, if that's okay. You know, yeah, you do not have to be the person that hits the 3-point shot at the buzzer and you won the game and it's a glory moment and you want to talk about it. That's fun, but that's a fleeting moment, right? You want to know who you are, absolutely. And here's the reason why. You know, when you're in college, you're going to want to do lots of things. You're going to want to study abroad. You're going to want to, you know, go to games, do so much things, clubs and organizations, but you got to get really good grades, right? So we look at that and we say, look, what did that student do? Did they develop projects? Did they have something in mind? You know, did a challenge like COVID, how do they address that? Who do they become because of that? You know, who do they want to become because of that? And what does their future look like? But you got to get really good grades. So we look at that application holistically and we say, does it reflect where that student's going and is it the right fit? So could you imagine, you know, putting yourself in an admissions counselor's shoes and, you know, Binghamton we're at 38,000, almost 39,000 applications right now. We're reading a lot. Now it's Friday and, you know, I'm getting tired and I'm reading applications and I'm reading essays. I love at the end of the day and I read this essay and I go, wow, that was a great essay. It puts a little smile on my face. And creatively, you told us who you were. You addressed a challenge. And now I understand who you are. You know, so those are the kind of pieces holistically we look at, all of us, when we read applications.
Thank you. That's really good feedback to know. Quick question for SUNY Broome and Delhi. I know Broome has some special admissions processes that they have for nursing and some of their competitive majors. And I just wondered if Brittney can touch on that. And then if Rachel, if there's any similar process that Delhi has for any of their competitive programs.
Sure. So as I mentioned before, we do have the few competitive health science programs that things a little different. So these are programs like nursing, dental hygiene, radiologic technology, physical therapist assistant, clinical laboratory technician, medical assistant, histological technician, and health information technology. I think I got them all. But each of those have a set of prerequisite requirements. And these courses, we do look at grades and each of them has their own set of different prerequisite requirements. So one of my biggest advice for students who are even thinking about a competitive program at SUNY Broome is reach out to us. You know, your guidance counselors will send your transcripts right over to us. We can get a look and see what you're at, but pretty much what you're looking at for the ones that have, I guess, the most extensive prerequisites. So nursing, physical therapist assistant, those have things like math through level 3. So that's generally algebra, geometry, algebra 2, trig. You need above a 74 in all of those for it to meet the prerequisite requirement. And we previously looked at Regents scores, but given that a lot of you will not have taken those Regents, we are not going to be looking at Regents this year and next year as well, just because junior year Regents for a lot of programs matter. Like we look at chemistry for most of those programs as well. Most of you would have been taking the chemistry Regents this year. You would have been taking algebra 2 trig Regents this year. And then all of our competitive programs have a prerequisite requirement of biology, so your living environment. So like I said, a minimum of a 74. So how we work this is we use like a competitive ranking system. So you can get a certain number of points based on your grade in those 3 prerequisite classes. We'll also look at your GPA. That gets, again, a ranking based on 1 through 7, based on your grade. GPA has to be above a 74. And then for nursing, there is an entrance exam as well. Nursing is the only one that has this separate component. This year, we are offering the HESI A2 exam and the TEAS, but for all of you, it'll actually just be the TEAS. We are moving forward with just the TEAS exam after this year. So competitive health sciences also have their own deadline. For this year, it was actually yesterday. It's always March 1st. I actually was at, yeah, that was yesterday. I don't know what date it is anymore. So March 1st was yesterday. So it's March 1st every year. So for all of you, the application is going to be opening September 15th of this year. And then for competitive, it closes for March 1st. All the rest of our programs are rolling, and, you know, as you would submit your materials, we get back to you. But again, for those competitives, things a little bit different. The certain prerequisite requirements, as well as the special deadline. And for some of them, like I said, the minimum's a 74. For some of those, you know, a 75 will be fine. Other programs, especially like dental hygiene, has become very competitive. We really want to see like B plus A range. But something to know, if you're sitting here kind of in a panic, being like, oh my gosh, I'm not taking chemistry this year, or, you know, I didn't take algebra 2 trig, that's totally fine. What a lot of students do coming right out of high school is they enter into our health studies program. You can do a year in health studies, get those prerequisite requirements done, also work on some courses that can count towards the competitive program, and then apply as an internal applicant. So a lot of options. Like I said, we look at, usually it's math, chemistry, biology. Things are a little bit different for radiologic technology. That is the hardest one for me to say. We look at physics for that. But again, if you're interested in any of those, I know that's super confusing when you hear it all listed out. Give me an email. I will be happy to ask for your transcript, look it over, and kind of let you know if you have the prerequisites, where you're sitting. One thing to note is we can't look at senior year courses because we need a final grade. And obviously things won't be final if we're reviewing them in March. So just something to take note. Like I said, email me with questions, because it can be a little confusing, and we're here to help every step of the way.
Thank you. Rachel, any special admissions factors for Delhi?
Yes, absolutely. So for most of our programs, we do have rolling admissions. However, for our nursing program, our first year entry into either our 2-year or our dual degree nursing program, and our veterinary science technology have the early and regular decisions that I've mentioned earlier. For admissions, all students must have at least a 75 high school GPA. Like my colleague just mentioned, we require 3 years of math and the algebra, geometry, and trigonometry. However, if for some reason you're in a BOCES program and are unable to take the trigonometry, however, you're able to substitute that for a college course, we do take that into consideration. So sometimes that's a lot easier for students to be able to take maybe a college course at say SUNY Broome, and to be able to substitute that in. We do not require chemistry for either our nursing or our veterinary science programs. We would much rather have our students come to campus and take that with our professors, so we can make sure that they're covering material that's required for their program. And like many of my colleagues have mentioned, Regent scores have kind of put a damper on what we're looking for. So we have really gone into looking at, you know, your grade pattern from 9th grade to 11th grade in your maths and sciences and English, and, you know, depending on your major. We also look if you're, you know, still attempting to take BOCES or New Visions programs or taking college courses. So we really take into consideration any experience. If you're looking to apply into our vet tech program, if you volunteered at a shelter, you know, or have shadowed a vet or a vet tech, that's information that's really important for us to know. Also for nursing, strength of schedule, as many of my counselor friends have mentioned, senior year, we want you to continue to take those math and sciences. We found that students that stay in math and science their senior year are a lot more successful once they've entered into a college level math or science course. So just stay on that, make sure, you know, you're making right decisions for the major that you're applying for. But if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I do have my email in the chat. I know there's some confusion with our major. We also have wonderful information sessions that are virtual right now. for our most popular majors with our faculty. So it's a great opportunity for you to actually connect. We are offering campus tours, but you're not able to actually go into a lot of our academic buildings due to COVID safety regulations. So those virtual experiences on our website are a great opportunity for you to really get an experience of our majors and see what our students are actually working on in our labs.
Thank you. I have a question that was sent to me in the chat. This might be for Binghamton or Syracuse. Can you apply to 2 different colleges at one university in the same cycle? For example, Watson School and Harper at Binghamton, or similar at Syracuse, or maybe RIT?
At Binghamton, it would be, you apply to one school, one college. So, even if you don't know exactly what the major is, that's okay. I mean, our most popular major is undecided, right? And you don't have to declare your major till the end of your sophomore year. So you have time to figure it out. So if you don't really know what you want to do, just say, I don't know, undecided. And, you'll work with an academic advisor. I don't know that I'd want to be 18 years old and want to say, here's exactly what I want to do for the rest of my life. That's a tough question to answer. So you just apply to one school. Now we have something called an inter-university transfer. So for example, if you started off in Harper College of Liberal Arts and Sciences and you said, I really want to go into business and finance. Maybe you start off as an economics major, which is a social science, and then you can actually transfer within the school, within the university, to another one of the schools. So that's a possible pathway.
So for Syracuse, like I said, we had earlier, we have 9 different undergraduate colleges. So when you're filling out the common application, you're going to put your first choice college, but then we also really strongly encourage students to put a second choice college as well. And there's also an SU Chooses question, and answer yes to that. And that just gives us permission to give you an alternate offer to one of our other colleges or other programs if we think that would be a better fit for you than your 2 choices. That just widens your opportunity to get reviewed, to kind of get your foot in the door. If you are not competitive for your first choice college, we're going to review you for your second choice college and just kind of go down the road like that. Like Joe, we have an inter-university transfer program. So if you get into a program and discover this is not what you wanted it to be, you are going to have the opportunity to transfer to another college, to another program. And for the most part, for the majority of our colleges, architecture and the College of Visual and Performing Arts are the 2 colleges that are kind of their own beasts. But all of the other colleges, all of the credits that you have already taken, they're going to go with you and they're going to count towards your new program if you change. So it's not like you're starting all over again. Architecture is a 5-year professional program. So if you suddenly decided architecture is your heart's desire as a sophomore, you can make that inter-university transfer, but you would be starting that program from day one all over again. So you kind of have to keep those kinds of things in mind too as well. But again, there's a lot of flexibility in your program choices.
Thank you. We had another question earlier in the chat. How do your schools look at class rank and GPA? Vestal's very, competitive school. Typically we have, kids with well over 90 plus averages. Usually our highest GPA with our ranking system is 102 or 103 out of a 100-point scale. So how do you look at class rank and GPA for our Vestal students compared to other students who are applying? I'm gonna let, Alex hasn't gone for a while.
Hi, okay. Yeah, so obviously when we see that someone was in the top 10% of their class, or even we see the valedictorian and salutatorians a lot, we obviously take that into consideration, especially with our merit-based scholarships. A lot of the times we will see someone that has taken 5 or 6 AP courses, very high GPA, and they're 5th in their class out of over 100 students. That definitely makes a difference in for that as well. And we definitely take that into consideration. A lot of students in schools don't rank, and that's okay too. Just because your school didn't, a certain school wouldn't rank and they didn't have their class ranked, that's not going to negatively affect anyone or make us make a different decision or anything either. But definitely is something to consider when we're looking at an application.
Anybody else want to chime into that one?
I would like to mention, since you're in the surrounding counties, that our presidential scholarship it takes in effect, basically, that we do look at ranking and encourage students in the top 10 to apply to our presidential scholarship. It is a full tuition paid scholarship, so it's a great opportunity. And I would love to get more students from the Broome area to apply to that. So on that note, that's my 2 cents on that.
I think Brittney, SUNY Broome has a lot of scholarships you probably want to talk about that are tied to class rank or GPA.
I was just going to ask if I could piggyback off that. We do have our Presidential Honor Scholarship that is really targeted towards our local students. You know, we specifically look at our local high schools. And for that, the criteria is the top 10%. So in the grand scheme of things, class rank, and that can matter when it comes to merit scholarships and being able to apply for those scholarships. The Presidential Honor Scholarship is completely covers a student's tuition at SUNY Broome. So really talk about a great way to start your education and save some money financially and get things started on the right foot. So absolutely a great thing. But coming from the perspective of an admissions counselor, as well as, you know, a former Vestal graduate who put a lot of pressure on their class rank, it is only a piece of the puzzle. You've heard a lot of the other counselors here talk about, they look at the holistic student picture. And as someone who looks at a lot of transcripts and a lot of rank, you know, top 10 at one school is not the same as top 10 at another. So they'll be looking at your GPA, the courses you took, the grades you got in those courses. So please do not stress yourself out too much over class rank. Like I said, if you're in that top percent, that is great. Congratulations. That shows a lot of hard work and perseverance, and that can help you with some scholarships like our Presidential Honor Scholarship, and other schools have those too. But at the same time, if you're not, or you're not happy with your class rank, it is just a number. It's funny, I can remember the exact moment I received my class rank, coming back from New Visions, opening it up in the hallway, and the moment it had. But now in the grand scheme of things, I'm like, that is such a small thing that really had no impact kind of on the rest of my life. But I know how big it can be. So it's great for scholarships, but it's just a piece of the puzzle. You've heard these other counselors talk about the holistic approach. And, you know, at Broome, we don't even necessarily look at GPA. So not necessarily for our school, but just in general, a piece of your puzzle, you know, it's just a piece of who you are. It's not everything they're going to look at. It can help, but don't fret.
Thank you. Excellent advice, because that is always a time of panic when it comes out in October, and people stress about it. And, you know, we don't want it to be a stressful point in time, but unfortunately it causes a lot of undue stress for everybody. So we do have a few more minutes if there's any other questions that people want to put in the chat, or for the other Vestal counselors, if there's something that we didn't touch upon that you want to bring up, feel free. But I think that we've had a really good perspective tonight of the different colleges and what you have to offer. And it's nice to hear that so many people are actually in person and on campus. People are staying safe and healthy. I think that's one of the important things as we're going through this admission cycle is, you know, our seniors that graduated last year, they're kind of got caught up into this little bubble of, do I go to campus? Do I come home from campus? Am I there for a short time? And I think a lot of, you know, campuses adjusted their academic schedule to keep people safe. So it'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward. We do have another question here. This is more for the Vestal counselors. When do students receive a cumulative GPA? That is typically the first week of October of their senior year. They'll get their class rank and GPA. We do send it home, and we used to give it out in school, as Brittney knows. And it's a little stressful to get it at school. So we try to send it so the students get it on a Thursday or Friday. So they get it over the weekend, and they don't have to share that with anybody that they don't want to. One of the questions here, can we address the region? Someone had commented that they would most likely be canceled. Can we clarify that? That was a comment from Mark Browning, who is on our school board. I have not gotten any clarification as of 7:42 today. I haven't seen anything come out from the state. Mr. Browning may have more information on that, but I think he had to scoot out to a soccer practice. So I don't know if any of the other admissions counselors have gotten any up-to-date information today about what the state's going to do about Regents exams.
The state ed memo came out today, and my superintendent where I work just forwarded it to me this evening.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, the state ed memo pretty much says the Board of Regents, when they meet in a couple of weeks, is probably going to decide to cancel every Regents exam that the federal government allows them to. And probably more if they could. But at most, it looks like algebra, earth science, biology, and English.
But I would just say, Vestal students, please keep working hard. Don't give up if there's no Regents exams, because there's always a catch with that. So you still have to pass your courses. So
Oh yeah,
until it's clarified, let's keep doing the right thing.
Yeah, it'll be clarified in a couple of weeks. But I will also say, and I was kind of heading there with my class rank question, is for any students listening, that the little bit of hard work you do every day in each of your courses is what matters more than anything else. That's what I'm hearing from these college representatives. More than rank, more than test scores, more than anything else, the work you do in school.
And Christy, if you don't mind, if I, with the Regents thing, no matter what happens, we mentioned before, we're going to work with that as admissions. We're going to change our admissions procedures. You know, we're not going to hold a student accountable for something they didn't have the opportunity to do. So if Regents are canceled, we're going to adjust how we do things. So that's something to keep in mind. Like, don't panic, you know, either way, we will work with it to make sure that we can assess you in other ways and can look at other things, and you are not held, you know, or punished for something that you didn't have the opportunity to do. So if they are canceled, don't worry about it.
And again, like Ms. Martino said, for our students who are watching, keep plugging away. Don't give up yet. Any other questions from our viewers at this point? We do have this recording finally. I don't think it was able to be streamed live after all. So for our families, you know, who are on here, if you know someone who wasn't able to join us tonight, we will get this posted as soon as we can work out the technology. That's out of my wheelhouse, so I'll have to turn it over to IT services to get that uploaded. But hopefully you can send some of your other families there. So I'll just give another minute or two to see if there's any final comments. Again, I appreciate everyone being on this Zoom. Again, you know, usually our schools are traveling in the snow to be here. So this is great that we can do it this way. Any final thoughts before we head out for the night? Our counselors are available you know, during school hours tomorrow, or, you know, the rest of the week. If parents or students do have questions, we are all in the office. So whether your student is remote or in person, they can contact us either by email or scheduling an appointment. We are doing a lot of Zooms with students, but as we've been able to see students in school, we love to see them in the office. We're starting to get more and more kids back. So we appreciate the kids coming down, asking questions. I do want to re-emphasize our Google Classroom has a ton of information in there. Miss Martino and I were looking through it tonight, and pretty much anything that you need to know that's going on, we put that in the Google Classroom. As we get updates from colleges, from our emails, we put that in there. So when a college, updates and says we're going test optional, we try to put that in there under college planning. So for students who have not shared their Google Classroom with their parents, let them have access. It's a great way to see what's going on. And that is the most up-to-date information. We are constantly putting stuff in there day and night. So it is, information overload, but if you keep up with it, you'll be on top of everything. In the fall, our families will have an opportunity to come and, who knows, maybe we'll be in person or we'll be back in Zoom, but we'll do another process of how to do the college application, talking about the Common App, talking about scholarships. We do have a financial aid process with, usually SUNY Broome is our financial aid key people. So that will be coming in September. And a lot of information will be posted in the junior/senior newsletters that you get coming home. So keep an eye out for that as well. So thank you everyone for being here. We really appreciate it. And everyone is already home, so you don't have to worry about driving carefully back home tonight. Oh, I think we got one more message, and that's just a thank you. Lots of thank yous going around. So thank you for your time. Everyone have a good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have to turn the recording off, Christy?
I don't even see that I'm recording it. I think
Oh,
Rick, oh, here we go. He made me back to all right.
yeah.